Has it really been close to 3 months since Starfield was released? I mean, I just looked at my calendar and saw that fact, and it kind of hit me. I honestly don't know why. It just did. Welcome back to the channel. It's LtBuzzLitebeer, and I've well eclipsed the 200 hours played mark into Starfield. I'm still running into random side content like the Dead Stop quest on Ilios, which I honestly was not expecting. It's just kind of random to stumble into it, but hey, we've got Starfield news to discuss, including the latest performance patch and what that could mean for the game and possibilities for consoles as well. Todd Howard's recent interview where he gave us some background into current Starfield development, and when compared to other current RPG juggernauts, it does raise some questions, plus some other items I wanted to throw in as well. So I've tried to vary it up for you today. In case you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. Likes, comments, shares are of course greatly appreciated. Chapters are in place and available for a smooth and easy viewing experience. And here we go. Kicking off this one is the current beta patch and testing over on Steam, and I needed to throw in a bit of an update to my last Starfield video where I said that I wasn't seeing much in the way of improved performance with the patch installed. I was wrong. Chalk it up to user error. Updates 1.8.83 and a few days later, 1.8.84 have dramatically improved the performance of the entire game, especially for me being an NVIDIA GPU owner. Now, without getting overly technical here, the game just feels like it had a giant rocket booster strapped to its backside, and no matter what environment I enter, cities, interiors, space, or even just planet side, it doesn't feel like my PC rig has 2 tons of weight heaved on top of it anymore. For all the recent testing I've done and feedback I just sent along, I actually activated the FPS counter up in the top left hand of the screen, and sorry for those of you watching this on mobile as it's really pretty small, but in 4K on full epic settings with DLSS set to quality and with frame generation enabled, I was consistently seeing huge FPS gains compared to the non-beta version. And as someone that had installed Pure Dark's DLSS mod pretty much from day one, the Bethesda DLSS implementation exceeds even what that mod was able to accomplish. Now, I've said this many times in the past, and I'm sure you have as well. How in the hell did Starfield not launch with DLSS support day one is beyond me. We could have the debate about AMD and exclusivity, of which AMD has denied, but the fact is that the performance gains are so dramatically enhanced with DLSS installed and using frame gen on 4000 series cards, it's just undeniable. Even on my older 3090 without frame gen, this performance patch has added some kick to how the game handles. A fact that was not lost on the gentleman over at Digital Foundry, who produced and uploaded not only a full YouTube video breakdown of the latest beta patch, but in print as well through their Eurogamer subsidiaries. Starfield's new PC patch delivers the game we should have had at launch. The beta delivers DLSS, frame gen, and massive CPU-GPU performance boosts. And there's nothing to argue with there in the title. It should have been there at launch. Now, Alex at Digital Foundry noted a 20% performance uplift in and around Aquila City, making use of better CPU utilization. And Aquila has always been a spot that I've pointed out in previous uploads, especially when you're walking from the spaceport into the city. The beta makes better use of more than 6 CPU cores, which I have, and they are more heavily utilized compared to the non-beta version, although Alex did see and note there are frame time spikes still present. Even mid and lower tier hardware is seeing performance gains across the board, but there's still a lot of work to be done here, especially in the subpar implementation of the new HDR edition. Traversal stutter is still present, and there's a lot of work to be done with Intel GPUs. I'd also have to echo Alex's statement that the Luma mod is a much better HDR implementation that is currently being offered up by Bethesda. But what really caught my attention from the video and Eurogamer Echo was the statement that with the game's performance and recent optimization, Digital Foundry feels that a performance mode on Xbox Series X is much more viable now, given that the Ryzen 5 3600 they used for certain tests operates within similar performance profiles as the Series X CPU. And we've heard in the past from Todd Howard stating that the game was locked to 30 FPS on console, but the testing is showing that a 60 FPS performance mode, at least on Series X, is out there if Bethesda wants to take a swing at it. I will, of course, leave a link to the Digital Foundry Starfield patch video down in the video description. It is well worth your time. It's only about 13 minutes long, but packed with details. Switching gears, and we recently got new details about the past, current, and future work being done on Starfield from Todd Howard himself via a Wired YouTube interview, where Howard breaks down his video game career starting off with his work on Terminator back in the 90s. Check in the video description for a link to this one as well, and I've watched the entire presentation. Seeing those older Elder Scrolls games in action really brings back some memories for me. There's also the introduction and discussion of procedural tech and better AI being developed and installed in those older titles, eventually landing in Starfield as well. But probably the biggest headline-grabbing quote was when Howard stated that there are currently 250 team members still working on Starfield, and instantly the question becomes, on what? Now, besides the bug fixes, I would have loved to have seen full mod support and the creation tools released at release, but maybe that's just me. Just putting the brakes on the Starfield discussion for a moment, I've recently started my very first playthrough of Cyberpunk 2077. It's a long story as to why I haven't played it up until now, but the TLDR is that I am, and I'm enjoying it. I can see the allure and the sexiness and the attraction of this game. I can also see the large differences between the two titles. Now, I had to Google this one because I didn't remember it, and excuse me if I'm wrong here, but 2077 launched in early December 2020, but I do remember the results of that launch like it was yesterday. PC fared pretty well, earning praise from outlets and gamers alike, but console was an unmitigated disaster. There were embargo issues, no console footage was allowed to be shown, lies were exposed. I mean, who can forget the throwdown between Sony and CDPR with refunds leading to Sony delisting the game from the platform? I mean, 2077 was an unholy mess at launch. And it's been a long and twisty road to get it to where it is now, apparently costing CDPR nearly $125 million in the process. And I bring this all up as a reminder that 2077, even as good as it is now, wasn't this near flawless product at release. It took time. As PC Gamer puts it, a 3-year breakdown of Cyberpunk's bugs, lawsuits, and the many patches that brought it back. And I bring this up because Starfield is far from a perfect product. For some, it is great. For others, it is very mid. And I get it, to each their own. And by the way, no, I'm not at all disappointed that Starfield was not nominated for Game of the Year. If anything, there are several other titles I would have personally included into that list of nominees over what the Game Awards have selected. But back to Starfield, yeah, it's far from perfect. It needs some serious work put in for the core mechanics to try to bring back that older, handcrafted Bethesda feel. It has bugs, lots of them. It has other issues, which I've covered here on the channel, but in terms of games in this genre, it's still very young and has a lot of growing pains yet to endure. All right, so back to those 250 BGS team members that are apparently still working on Starfield, and to that question of on what. And here's where the likes of Baldur's Gate 3 and Cyberpunk 2077 really hurt Starfield. Now, BG3 recently dropped a mammoth-sized update, and 2077, of course, released 2.0 fairly recently, essentially overhauling every system in the game to the better. And then we see Starfield, still with questline issues and blockers, lack of planet-side vehicles, exploration, finally installing basic QoL features months after release, just kind of trickling out these updates weeks and months in the making. But the expectations are there, especially when you look at CDPR or Larian and what they are pumping out. What is the holdup with BGS? Why are things taking so long, and why is there very little when they do release a mainline patch? And in all honesty, we should be asking those questions of Bethesda, but hopefully we can see the potential with this product, especially with what CDPR did with 2077. Remember, that was 3 years of endless grinding, lawsuits, and a ton of financial backing to get the game into the state where it is today. Likewise, BG3 was out in early access from late 2020, so Larian had time to work to grind and perfect that product. 3 years from today, will Starfield be in that Cyberpunk 2077 No Man's Sky back from the ashes discussion? Which is an excellent question for chat. Let me know in the comment section below. Remember to hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. Likes, comments, shares are greatly appreciated. You can find all my socials in the video description. Shout out to the now over 180,000 of you that have stuck with me and hit subscribe. And a special thanks goes out to my Patreon supporters and to those of you sending over those much appreciated YouTube super chats. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer signing off.